Thank you to everyone that's joined promptly today. I'm going to give this just 2 minutes for everyone to make sure they're on the line. So bear with us. The silence isn't a technical mistake. I'm just waiting for 2 minutes to let everybody in. Okay, so it's 2 minutes past. I can still see that people are still joining the call, but let's get going. First off, my name is Stuart Beeston. I'm the secretary to the Energy Traders Europe Operations Committee, and with me on the line today, who'll be doing most of the work from Energy Traders on this call, is Anke Bossens. The call today is one in a series of webinars that the operations team here are running throughout 2026. They're focused on two areas. One is on e-invoicing and VAT in the digital age. And the other topic, which is what we're here for today, is the impact of AI on post-trade processing. So if you're not here for that today, that's what we're going to be talking about. You can subscribe to our LinkedIn channel, so to make sure you get the dates and times of all the subsequent webinars. But just to let you know, the next one will be on the 20th of May, and it will be Fidectis taking the call that day, and the topic will again be AI. But subscribe to our LinkedIn channel and you'll never miss one of these. So the presentations that we're going to see today are from two long-standing friends of Energy Traders Europe. That is Tilo Zimmermann from Ponton and Hugh Brunswick from Equias. And I am more than delighted that they're taking the floor today. I'm sure many of you have sat through presentations on AI, which are sort of just a bunch of hand waving and buzzwords, and it's not clear about what this really means. Well, we have two people today who pretty much wrote the book on post-trade processing in energy trading. What they have forgotten is more than I'll ever know. And they'll also be talking about some real things that are happening in AI, not bright ideas that people have got sometime on the horizon. I think we've reached that stage where it's time to make things a little bit real with AI and post-trade processing. So these are just two great speakers. I couldn't be happier about them talking this morning. The afternoon, beg your pardon. But before I hand the floor over to them, they'll tell you about their own organisations. I'm going to pass over to my colleague, Anke Bossens, because this is a series of webinars that's run by Energy Traders Europe. So we want to make sure you know who Energy Traders Europe are, and Anke will talk all about that. The last thing before I hand over is to say that I'm very confident because I've seen the material. This is something you may want to watch back. And as with all of our webinars, we're making them available on YouTube. It'll take a couple of days for them to be posted up there. But please visit our YouTube channel as well, where you can see recordings of this and all our previous webinars. So Anke, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Stuart. We are a European association of more than 180 energy trading companies. We've been around for more than 25 years now. Through our gas and operations committees, we are influencing European energy policy, so representing energy traders in shaping transparent and competitive markets across Europe. Through our market supervision committee, we are staying ahead of regulatory change. So we help you with timely updates and insights on the evolving regulatory landscape throughout Europe. Our legal committee, our legal team, is really doing a fantastic job in maintaining and developing standard trading contracts and updating the current EFET templates and developing new ones, as well as providing industry-backed legal opinions. Yeah, so this is 30+ country legal opinions that have been developed by leading law firms. And finally, our own operations committee is helping improving operational efficiency and reducing costs. So harmonizing post-trade data standards to streamline processes, reduce complexity. And the final point is on our very successful initiative, Integrate by 28, One Europe, One Market. And you can find more details by scanning this QR code here and being involved. So thank you very much. And I'm now going to hand over to Tilo.
Yes, thank you, Stuart and Anka. Just switching to the slide deck here. Okay, is it visible?
And just to add, all questions in the Q&A chat, please place them as the presentation progresses. We're going to try to go through them throughout the talk as well as at the end. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Anka. Thanks, Stuart. The headline says applying AI to post-trade execution. We're doing this in two parts, basically. I'm doing the tech part first, looking at it from the perspective of software development and operations. And then I'll hand over to Hugh Brunswick, who's going to do the business perspective and outlook on strategy of Equias. But before I go and talk about the specifics of applying to post-trade, I would like to take a step back and maybe share a few words on the journey we've taken there so far. So basically, if you would have asked me to do this presentation, say 1.5 years ago, I would have respectfully declined, because at the time it seemed like AI was, well, maybe not a fad, but definitely a hype. Everybody was jumping on it, but I failed to see at the time what big impact it would make. It turns out that rather than translators and lawyers, the profession which is most in the crosshairs of AI right now seems to be software development, and that's us, Ponton. So what has changed in this time? Well, basically Claude really changed the game for software development. And then Copilot dropped, and then Codex came, and these changes just are happening so quickly that I fail to see how somebody can make an AI strategy which lasts for more than a year, because the change is just too rapid. It turns out that we are software development in the crosshairs for a reason, because AI to be working needs data, and lots of it. And that is the case in software development, because most software companies in the world, Ponton included, use GitHub for a repository for source code and build artifacts and so forth. So that stuff's already there, and it has been for 20-odd years for us. Then the tighter semantic structure, which means not just formatting, but just rules around how content is structured, where you would expect it to be, what errors constitute, and so forth, is very advanced in software development. Those are programming languages, so it's quite clear whether you are calling a class or whether it's misspelled, whether that's a library or not, which isn't something you can say about a Jane Austen novel, say. Yeah. And then the next point of the three is that it's testable. Differences whether a novel is good or not may differ, but for software, if you have input and if you have expected outputs, you can automate that. And in fact, we've been doing that for a number of years, as all other serious shops are, testing automation. But if you turn testing and automation into the hands of AI, you can actually run this closed loop at very high speed indeed. So that doesn't mean the software writes itself. So you still need domain experts, people who know what they're doing, who know the industry, who know what a good solution, a good architecture should look like. But it seems increasingly the case that the days of twiddling the code yourself are not completely over, but they're certainly nearing the sundawn. So this changes a lot for us. It changes client expectations. You can no longer walk into a presentation with just a couple of bullet points. You pretty much have to bring a prototype built by AI. It changes estimates. It changes project length, and also the team sizes. And I'm very happy that we're not a big offshore shop, because I think that the days of offshore might also be over. Because if you can describe what you want done, then you're almost 75% there doing it with AI. Why have an offsite team with all the difficulties that entails? Of course, there is the question of how you can get these experts if nobody's hiring entry-level engineers anymore. But that's maybe more a question to society. It's not something which we can solve as a small company. Okay, so maybe that doesn't apply to your job. So just wait another half year. So that's where we're going, basically. So now coming a little bit closer to what we're talking about today, what I chose as an example, because I want to do a demo, which I just built this Monday, is about the venerable tradition of trade confirmations, very well known to Equias, very well known to us. And we've been trying to do automation with non-XML, so non-EFET standard trade confirmations for some 15 odd years, with emails and PDFs and things like that. And we never really got there. Yeah, and the reason for that is that there are some difference between trade confirmations as a business document and then, say, invoices. Invoice automation, creditor management, etc., has been around for many years. But the reasons for that is that invoices, leaving e-invoices aside for a moment, they weren't there yet, but are very different beasts from trade confirmations or other contracts of that nature, lots of other business documents. Because you have line items, you have subtotals, you have tax, you have a total, which is a very clear structure. It's not just recognizing the letters and numbers, it's recognizing them in context. It's knowing that, yes, this is the value of a good which has been delivered for this line item. And there is potential for cross-checking here, because the subtotals, they should add up to the grand total. And if they don't, then the software has made a mistake and somebody should check it. So these type of inbuilt redundancy and testing ability just isn't there yet with most trade confirmations, other business documents like that. So basically, if you now apply AI to, I call them semi-structured business documents, which are like trade confirmations, term sheets, things like that, it turns out that the letter recognition or character recognition is not the issue. Firstly, because most PDFs sent around today are native PDFs, meaning they're legible by the machine, they're machine readable. You can test this as a user, you can copy and paste the stuff. But even if they aren't, if they're just scanned, then OCR is pretty good at drawing that in. The problem is the semantics, meaning that if a 17 appears somewhere on a page, is that a net value? Is it a gross value? Is it the expected value? Is it the measured value? This sometimes is stated somewhere in a column header or or table structure or something, but sometimes it's just common practice with this type of document. AI has a hard time realizing that, especially if those differences vary across counterparties. And that is a problem, because if you have 1,000 documents and 990 are okay, are recognizable like that, the large language models tend to look at the remaining 10 in expecting them to be just like the others. Yeah. And that's fine if you're doing voice recognition on your phone and you mostly want to form complete sentences. But what if those 10 documents are trade confirmations where the buyer-seller relation has been switched, or there's a negative value there where you really wouldn't expect it? And this is exactly the risk. This is the value proposition of trade confirmations, that you catch these. So large language models are pretty bad at recognizing outliers, because they're built on the premise that the world behaves as it always has. So that's not necessarily a problem, because if you can automate 99% of the operation and just have 1% be manually cross-checked, that's fine. You've saved a lot of labor there. But then you want to be really sure that you're looking at the right 1%. And this is where the confidence values come in. Confidence values is a way for the system to cross-check itself and to give ratings based on its assumptions of whether it understood something correctly or not. But again, this confidence assignment, I've tested this over the last 5 weeks or so, just on the side, is something which is not super reliable either. So that's a problem. Yeah. By the way, by just by me giving this as a side remark, that I've tested this over the last 5 weeks. I'm not a software engineer. I'm a mechanical engineer or aerospace engineer. It doesn't matter. I haven't coded for 25 years, is what I'm saying. And it's not my job either. But I think that in this new world of AI, if you're even in contact with this, it's a very, very good idea to get your feet wet, to do this yourself, if only on a playful basis, because it just sharpens your mind and makes you aware of the right questions to ask. So if this problem, which I just described, is so hard, should we just step away? Well, no, of course we shouldn't. But rather we should break it down into smaller parts and see whether not most of it can be automated. And this is exactly where the PPA standard comes in for the PPA documents. I've talked about this before in the context here, so I'm just going to run through it real quick because I want to focus on the AI bit. But basically, in 2024, we started a PPA standardization project with a bunch of traders, off-takers, originators, lawyers, software companies. And it just so happens, because this was before this big AI push for software development, but it just so happens that the resulting standard, which is, like the EFET standards of yore, just for PPAs, right? But is very, very helpful when applying AI to these processes. And the standard is not a standard contract. It's more about interface between systems, really. So it's a technical standard. It's not competing with the PPA standard of Energy Traders Europe. And I'm not a lawyer either. So we are covering a term sheet to contract basically right now, but we're extending it now. And now I'm getting to the AI part, because a colleague of mine basically took the resulting data model, formulated as an XSD file with constraints and data types and all of that, which describes the PPA term sheet and the core business values of a PPA contract, and use this as a basis to build a PPA editor and negotiation tool. Now, he could have done this 5 years ago, not a problem, but the point here is that he did this in 4 hours. 4 hours. And this is not a stateless machine running in some low-code environment and so forth. It's the proper target architecture with a Java backend. It has an Angular front end. There's a database that runs in the cloud. And what you can do with it is you can create and edit term sheets, and you can share these with your counterparties, and you can export them. This is not a business proposition. I'm not trying to sell you on a PPA editor, but it's just showing how the combination of business standards with proper documentation and AI is super powerful to build simple tools, even more complex tools, and especially prototypes. And here's what it looks like. There's a list of PPA contracts. You can edit the master data to go with it. And of course, you can go into these PPA contracts and you can look at these different sections. So that's cool. But I want to show something different today because just going to step through that. What we did last Monday this week in my company, we had an offsite. And the idea was that everybody in the company, starting with the back office and including interns, software engineers, QA people, up to and including managing directors, would actually get together in AI teams and build something in just within 5 hours, right? And the way we did this was, I think, maybe, yeah, I don't know, I don't know what it's going to look like in a year's time, but I think this is somewhat a token of how this might look in the future, because I think that teams will be more productive, yes, but they will also be smaller, dealing with different things, and the roles are also not as clear-cut anymore as in the past. So we wanted to have teams consisting of people with the qualification of product owner, software architect, QA specialist, and agentic engineering expert. That's a bit odd, isn't it? Agentic engineering expert. Well, that's another way of saying that you've already have experience developing software with at least 2 different agents. I wasn't qualified on any of this, so I just wrote down an idea so I could be a product owner. And basically, what we tackled was exactly this problem, which I had discussed before. How can you take PDF confirmations of varying formats, because you can't control what the counterparty sent you. They don't adhere to standards. They have their own layouts and such. And how can you map that? How can you match that with your own XML confirmations? Well, the first thing my team told me was that if they want to do something, we need a project name, if only for the GitHub repository. And we should also stick up a logo, because otherwise we get this stupid default logo. So I created this logo and this name with ChatGPT within 3 minutes. Matcha tea is quite the thing with young people these days, but it also matches, obviously, right? And the rest on the left-hand side is the business case. I think the only thing which is specific to us here is that we do have access to about 15 years of trade data through good relationships with customers, where we just have hundreds of thousands of PDF documents with their respective XML matches. And that is super. That is gold for training the engine, basically. And this was the scope, basically. It's supposed to read an inbound PDF document, so not countersigned. That would be cheating. It classify the underlying counterparty template. So if I'm in touch with, I don't know, Stadtwerk Neumünster, and they're using 2 different layouts in the PDFs, then the system should recognize A, this is from Stadtwerk Neumünster, that's easy enough from metadata, but B, this is their power short term in German language. Yeah, it doesn't have to know this name, it just needs to recognize that this is the template. Then this is the hard part, extracting key trade data, right? Because these documents, they're all over the place. Sometimes they're horizon, landscape, portrait. Sometimes the table structure is implied. Sometimes it's explicit, etc., etc. So all sorts of pitfalls. Once you have that, to suggest a pairing of the PDF with my own internal XML trade document, that's easy. I mean, we've been doing that for 20 odd years. So that's simple. Comparing the critical field and then return a match decision with a confidence score. Yeah. Obviously, the idea is that users can then focus on the stuff with a low confidence value, and the rest they could just, pretty much click it through. Yeah. So what did we do in those 5 hours? We quickly decided that we would check this in for real, because we may want to reuse it for the actual development. So it actually did go into GitHub. We used Codex, and the software language is Python, which is good for me. I actually ran this on my laptop. Because I haven't coded in Java ever. I stopped at C++ in university, so Python is easier for me to review. And then I wrote the context and requirements, so that's about 4 pages, I would say. And I designed, quote unquote, the logo, like I said. And then we did not stick this into the engine straight away into Codocs, but rather we designed 2 agents, a data extraction expert and a senior architect, where we just put in requirements. Here's the agent which we want. And then these 2 agents helped us redefine the requirements, basically, and pointing out where the holes are, sometimes even arguing with each other, which is fun. Next, the business agent, dev agent, QA agent wrote an implementation plan, which we reviewed. The first plan didn't have an LLM, which is kind of surprising, but we ran it anyhow. And the second we branched it off, and I ran it off on my machine, because it turns out that even though we have company plans within Ponton for both Codex and Claude, the others had used up their tokens, whereas I, lazy managing director, hadn't done enough AI coding, so I still had tokens to spare. Okay, then the second implementation on my machine actually worked. And that's what I want to show you now. So I hope it works. Bear with me. Okay, you should be seeing my browser right now. Yeah. None of this graphical user interface was specified by me or by anybody else. This was just done by the agents in looking at the problem, basically, and maybe looking at other examples in the wild, I guess. So I'm gonna do a live demo now. So I'm gonna be picking a PDF, and I will also be picking an XML. Notice, by the way, that this upload is already typed. So when it opens it, it only looks at the PDFs and only looks at the XMLs from the same directory. All of this stuff is not magic, but in the past, somebody would have had to do this and apply the right libraries and all so forth. And here it just happens like that, So let's compare them. Aha, so we have a 93% confidence level. In the specifications, I said specifically that I never want to see 100% confidence, because I don't want to take the liability that those confirmations actually match 100%. That's for the user to decide, but I would expect that people above a certain threshold will just click this away, basically. So now it basically goes through the critical fields. And again, I didn't really decide. I really didn't put this into requirements. I just put a bullet point list of the fields which should be matched, and then I just pointed the codex to the EFIT standard. Yeah, and it came up with this suggested list, and I thought, like, well, for a demo, that's good enough, So, and basically on the left-hand side, it shows the PDF value, the XML value on the right-hand side. That's easy, right? It just takes it from the XML. But on the left-hand side, note that, for instance, on the PDF, it said Winterhude Commodity Trading, which is fictitious, and it has the EIC code in brackets. It normalizes this to the EIC code, which is super, which is what you wanted to do, because we put in some normalization guidelines, but certainly not as specific as it does here. So basically, there is a mismatch here between 70 euros and 750 euros. That's a big one, I would say. And that's because I tweaked this XML file, just went in there and changed the value just to see how it would behave. So certainly you could argue that it shouldn't be 93, but the price is off, et cetera, et cetera. That's all tweaking. But the point I want to make is that we did this in 5 hours. Yeah. And that is just it. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've been doing this for some 25 years now. And I can't believe this is possible. Still, I'm still kind of reeling, you know. Okay, so let's stop the demo and go back to the slide deck. Okay, this is where we are, I think. Right. Okay. So this is just backup. So I just showed you this. So like I said, the extraction works very well indeed, as does the normalization and the semantic sorting. We now are working with actual PDFs in a while, meaning the store of different templates, etc. Because our assumption is that you can't do this across all confirmations, but we have to do this pre-sorting and then do it as a two-step. So these type of assumptions are much more testable now. You know, I mean, if you're Steve Jobs, fine, you have this vision, you implement it, you're right, everybody loves you, but I'm not Steve Jobs, so it's great that we can actually break this down and test it. Confidence levels aren't great. I showed you that, and the matching rules shouldn't be made up as we go along because they actually do exist. They are in the EFET standard, so we shouldn't just sort of like you know, sort of a waiting or something. But still, you know, this is unbelievable for 5 hours. And so my summary is. If somebody tells you that they understand what AI will do for the world or maybe against the world for software engineering, then you know, they don't, you know, because this just happens so quickly. But this is real. This is not blockchain. This is not low code. This is not some other hype. This is actually changing things. And specifically for software development, teams will get smaller, release cycles will get much faster, and you can do much more with less if you know what you're doing. Whether that means that revenues are going to go down or clients will just expect more for the same money, that remains to be seen. But it's certainly not an option to sit on your hands and just kind of wait this out. There's some deeper questions as well. Yeah, I'm volunteering 2 days each year to give guidance to teenagers in the former high school of my kids. And in the last session in February, their one and only question was, what should I study? What should be my career? How can I make sure that my work, my life is still relevant in this work of AI? And I don't have an answer, to be honest. But I also think, because deep down I'm an optimist, that clarity will come, and in the long run, productivity gains are good for humankind. So there is this title of a song by a German musician. It's always darkest before dawn. I think we will see clearer, and I don't believe this. Oh my God, we're all going to be destroyed. You know, it's changing and it's exciting. So I've been talking a lot now, but Anka, are there any questions in the chats now?
There are no questions so far.
Okay, cool. All right, so I'll switch over to Hugh's slide then. You can already start, Hugh. You don't need the slides for that.
Just a word of thanks to Tilo for setting up the sort of circumstances. Obviously, becoming an AI evangelist, I would say, and quite rightly so.
You have to do it yourself, you know. It's doing is believing.
Well, it's very, very impressive what you were talking about and how much has been achieved. in such a short timescale, and the level of insight effectively that the AI has into work which we've been developing for most of our careers over the last 20-25 years. So it is very impressive and very beeindruckend. So I suppose I should talk now about the more mundane facts of how you can, or how we are anyway, looking to implement and apply AI principles to the business that Equias does. So what is the business that Equias does? Well, it really comprises two parts. On the one side, there's the transactional data business, if you like, the transactional services. But those transactional services are processing confirmations, they're processing regulatory reports, and they're processing electronic invoices. On the other side, we would say is the data side of the business. And currently the main data service is around electronic trade monitoring. But obviously the transactional data, when looked at from the perspective of data, contains all the color and vibrancy of the market and can be the basis of deep insights, especially when you leverage the capabilities of AI. So we'll look at it from both perspectives. One from the more dry, boring, black and white processing of transactions, which, as Tilo earlier said, can't be 93% accurate, but must always be 100% accurate. And then we'll talk a little bit about our aspirations really beyond trade monitoring and how we perceive AI tools could be deployed against the data set in order to provide far deeper insights into how the market's behaving, and thus becoming a source of information which feeds back into the market and leads to more efficiency in the way the market operates, and better services and better market operations and better prices and better results for ultimately European society, I suppose. So on to the first slide then, Tilo.
Correct.
Yeah.
Classic ECM.
Yes, so classic ECM. I think you haven't shown it yet. That's not updated here.
Am I not? All right. This is the wrong one. Sorry. So just
maybe you're sharing the wrong screen. No, here it comes. So yeah, so first, as I said, we'll look at the transaction processing side of what we do, and in particular, we're going to take the ECM, the confirmation matching service. So it relates to the story that Tilo was showing you previously about the development of the AI tools that he has gone through. So in the typical path of confirmation matching, an electronic document is submitted, it goes into a matching queue, and it's matched off electronically. And what we're seeking there is 100% accuracy. And if there are discrepancies, then those can be resolved through human intervention. However, not the whole story, or the whole story is not electronic confirmations. There are still a lot of PDF confirmations out there. And although after 25 years, we would have expected everybody to have moved onto electronic processing, nonetheless, humans are humans, and we love our paper. And so paper confirmations still exist in the industry, even now. So the question is, how do we combine what we have achieved in terms of automation and electronic confirmation with the residual manual process, effectively, of processing confirmations that come through the PDF channel? So the question is, well, why would you do it, and how can you do it? Well, OCM, the outbound confirmation channel, is a vehicle which has now been integrated into ECM, which can handle PDF and paper confirmations. Things that used to have to be dealt with manually can now be integrated into the electronic confirmation process through the addition of the OCM functionality. So Obviously, this allows you to match with all your counterparties using the same system. So everything now passes through the confirmation matching service, both paper and electronic. It streamlines processes in your back office because you're only needing to operate one system and all your traffic is going through the electronic automated process and being processed via the OCM channel or the electronic channel. And obviously, it allows you to monitor the confirmation status of all the deals in one place. And it also, as I was saying previously, addresses the dependency that you have on your counterparty who remains using the paper channel. So it allows you to move to an electronic channel from your perspective and process the paper that's coming back through the channels that you have open with your manual counterparties.
Sure.
So how does it do that? Yeah, I'd probably build it. So not only does so the confirmation document comes in an electronic format, so you are fully digitalized, and then the ECM process routes the traffic either via the electronic channel for the electronic matching, or it recognizes that the counterparty is still on a paper channel or a manual channel, and it routes it through the manual processing channel, so the outbound confirmation channel. That information is then delivered to the counterparties, and there are two types of counterparty. Those who only receive confirmations and choose to not return them, and those whose behavior is different. They actually actively receive the confirmation, view it, and return it on a regular basis. So there are two categories of counterparty, and the second category obviously returns a result, which you can see on the diagram here, process and response, and that means that there's an opportunity for deployment of AI capabilities in processing the return result.
Yeah, because with this, I don't know whether we're going to retain MatcherX, but what I just showed is one way of extending this to not just countersigned confirmations, but to any confirmations which come in from the counterparties, and to have that be as fully automated as possible.
Yeah, exactly. So the countersign would be the return, but there would also be original confirmation coming.
I think these state changes are maybe too detailed for now.
Exactly. So I think this really says that OCM is all about integrating the manual paper channel, the confirmation process as was, with the confirmation process as is, in order to achieve digitalization and independence of the counterparty, and putting you in a situation where your entire confirmation stream is managed under one service. The question remains, okay, what about the return path? As Tilo was saying, if the return path is closed, i.e. it's the return of a confirmation which was issued by yourselves through ECM, then it'll come back with a QR code on it, and it can be easily recognized through that process. However, there are also confirmations coming in which are of a less structured and non-identified format, and both the QR code confirmations and the original confirmations that come unexpected can be processed, and this is where we believe and are applying AI capabilities in order to dig deep into the PDF document and recognize it and support the process of reconciliation with the electronic version of the confirmation, which was originally used to send the confirmation in the first place. So basically what we're talking about here is the counterparty confirmation templates. They can differ very widely, so in terms of layout and redundant data and language, as we saw in Tilo's example. And what the AI tools are being used for here is really, if you like, getting to know the various different documents which are coming in, both the returned QR documents, but also documents that come from a certain counterparty. And through monitoring the clickstream of current users, and through being given access to historic sort of matching results from 15 years of doing this, obviously it's possible to build up the capability within an AI model in order to process this data fairly efficiently, as was shown by the Matcher example.
And just on a side note, some users which we're discussing this with in the user group, have requested that we will not use a large language model, hosted by some big data company in the US or wherever, but rather run this locally to have full control over the commercially sensitive data. It just so happens that this type of recognition and matching is very well suited to a neural network. So we're not going to use a full LLM, but we can run it locally. So that's a happy coincidence, I would say.
Yeah. Okay, so what AI does to help close the gap. So I've talked about this already, and Tilo has too, but the inbound PDF documents can be categorized according to the sender's template. If there is a sender-specific template, which is known, then the business data can be extracted with a high level of confidence. The extracted data can be used in the pairing and matching off with the original XML document. And obviously, it generates a suggested match or match dispute status. The manual effort is therefore reduced, and you can focus just on the disputed matches or verifying the proposed matches via the AI.
Or just new templates, because people do all sorts of things.
Yeah.
But then the next time around, it's not going to be new anymore. So,
yeah, okay. When there's a change to the template, obviously it has to learn it again. It goes on, and it adapts to changes in the counterparty documents effectively. Okay, so we're coming to the end of the call, and we're coming to the end of the slides as well. But hopefully, it's given you a taste of how we're looking to implement AI as sort of a supporting tool to help the process of integrating fully electronic confirmation matching and invoice matching ultimately into a single electronic channel. So using AI to pre-process and digitalize unstructured or manual data. So it is in a format where it can be processed as part of a confirmation matching service. So that's on the transactional side of the business. What are we doing on the data side of the business? Well, obviously, there's a large amount of information that Equias has processed over the years, both confirmation data and regulatory reported data. And the question basically is, what can this data be used for in order to give back to the market, if you like, insights and understandings which can help market participants to enter new markets, trade more efficiently, optimize their trading strategies, trade more profitably, and ultimately, as market participants, to ensure that the overall market behaves more perfectly in order to serve its purpose as a way of meeting the needs of the European citizens. So our small part in that big vision is really to deploy deploy tools, some of which will be AI tools, in order to derive market insights from the data. So picking up patterns and anomalies and benchmarks, but also in future to enable agentic AI, which we believe will be able to continually monitor the state of the market data, which is seen by Equias and processed by Equias, but also combine that information with an external view of real world events, which will be effectively a superb insight and bridging the gap between the information which is specific and only known to the market and the information which is in the public domain, which are geopolitical events and so on and so forth, and weather events and what have you. Obviously, agentic AI, the ability to monitor and be aware of so much and so many related issues and items, and be able to adapt and consume, process and interpret many sources of information is a hugely powerful proposition in terms of providing real-time or at least up-to-date information back to the market to facilitate, as I say, the functioning of the market itself.
Okay, I'll stop sharing screens then, and Equias and Ponton have worked together for some 22 years, and it's only going to be more exciting with AI.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I can only encourage all of you to do some agentic coding yourself. It's really it changes the way you look at things.
Have we got any questions then? Okay.
Okay. We have one question from Stuart. Would you like to ask it directly?
I'll just ask it directly. I thought that we might have nervous callers, so I thought I'd put one in. So guys, that was really rich in terms of the level of detail and the realness of what you were talking about. But when you're out talking to clients about all of this, if I was to reflect over the last year, things have moved from we think this is going to matter at some point to people doing some trials. What thoughts and comments and hesitations do your clients have when you're talking this stuff through with them?
So I mean, if a service like confirmation matching is improved and drastically reduces manual work, then who wants to be against that? And the questions tend to be around data ownership, confidentiality, maybe reliance on big American players, things of that nature. But if you then have a coffee break, the questions tend to be more about societal impact and job futures for the people themselves, which is interesting. But I think more on my business side, when we talk to clients, maybe the waterline between doing things in-house versus having an outside company doing it for you will change somewhat. But I suspect that if you're playing with the big kids, that companies will still want to have a single source of contact, liability, somebody guaranteeing that this is on and that they can call someone to fix things. So I think the importance in operations and support and maintenance of having trusted providers is not going to go away. Maybe even the reverse, because you can drum up a piece of impressive looking code very quickly, but someone needs to be able to look at under the hood and tell you whether this is trustable and whether you can change it if need be in the future. What's your view?
Yeah, well, I think people are mostly concerned, I suppose, in the transaction processing side, to maintain 100% accuracy, because it succeeds or fails on being correct consistently and never being wrong. And I'm touching wood, that I believe to be the case in the future too. For 25 years, we haven't made a mistake. So when people say, what are you doing with AI? And I say, well, we're applying it to confirmation matching. There's a bit of an intake of breath, and they wonder whether taking something which is has to be 100% accurate, and applying what people may believe is a bit of fairy dust to the process in order to achieve a similar result, but using AI. There's a fundamental concern that in English they say throwing the baby out with the bathwater, and that's a very reasonable, rational concern. So I think the first thing is to reassure people that the fundamental premise of being 100% correct is based on the fundamental premise of the data being totally standardized and fully matched in a documentary form, which meets both the legal obligations of validating the contract and papering the transaction under the master agreement, but also, so you have an auditable document, but also meets the database reconciliation capability, which is effectively a data contract between you and the counterparty, that you both have the same information in your separate databases. So first point is to reassure people that we're not changing that, and to highlight the fact that AI, we're using it as a supporting tool at this stage, definitely, in order to improve the processing of the error-prone manual side of the transactions, and mitigating further their operational risk down that route by supporting the process as we've described today. So that's the first thing, really. On the other side, on the data side, people are fantastically interested because when you're looking at the unique position that Equias has in terms of the data it holds a lot of OTC, nearly all the OTC bid offer and trade data from all the broker platforms, plus a large section of the bilateral transactions, both in the table 1 standard format, but also non-standard. Then, and on top of that, we buy information from exchanges to make sure we have a complete set of cleared and uncleared information relating to the European energy market. And then that, combined with AI, AI's capabilities as they evolve, is an unlimited, or presents an unlimited possibility in terms of deriving real insights and value out of that information set. And that's what I think really excites people. And that's the feedback we're getting.
That's great. So we have a question from Barry from EDFT. It says, application developers offer second or third line support when a system fails. Does the AI developer agent diagnose problems in this way, or would the AI agent be blind to problems in the code it develops?
Well, that depends, of course, upon the implementation. But with existing business like that, where we are improving it, it would be foolish to rely on some outside party with some vague instructions taken away from 25 years of very high bar, which we have set on competence and helping users quickly. So the answer is no. We're going to be doing this in-house, because even the prototype which I showed you earlier, this is code which is running on my machine. It's just that I used AI to build Python code with some supporting stuff around it. So if something were to go wrong with it, this is just a demo, of course, but if something were to go wrong with it, we could do two things. We could either do it the old-fashioned way by creating the error scenario and looking at the code that needs to be reviewed anyhow, or we could take suggestions from AI, but this we'll probably do in the build process anyhow, because you can build other agents and have them review code design, granularity, completeness of testing, etc. This is all for software development. This is really cool. It's great stuff. But if things go bump in the night and we are supposed to fix it, then we can do it ourselves.
Okay, thank you. We've got 2 minutes left. Any more questions?
Was Barry's question more about, is AI better at identifying bugs and solving them? Or?
I don't know. Maybe I misunderstood the question, but I thought the question was, if something goes wrong, are we reliant 100% on AI to fix it, to find the root cause?
Yeah, okay.
Barry, if you're in the chat and you want to clarify that, otherwise we can.
Yeah, I'm thinking of this mythos sort of issue that's in the news these days about AI just being better at finding bugs and solving them than humans.
Yeah, it might be, but if that's the case, then you want to do it before the users find it. So that's why I said, as part of the build pipeline, there will be steps in there saying just use agents to find holes, to find bugs in your code.
In the automated testing process.
Yeah. But still, there's going to be stuff where user expectations are different,
And I guess analyzing bugs is a potential extension of that. So what gets through the testing and is discovered as a bug.
Yeah, I mean, if it works as a tool, then we would be daft to not use it. But producing the code and running it on-prem or in a compute center is a very different thing than just having an interface to some LLM somewhere and hoping it'll work 7 weeks in the future. Because you can't hold the version stable even. So. with
I
LLMs.
suppose in all cases, what we've talked about today is using AI as a tool,
As a tool to build software,
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So it's or if we use it for inference, then we can control it because, as you said, this needs to be 100% correct, or at least we need to provide really solid confidence levels for the users to make that call.
And all those decisions come back ultimately to the person.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in none of these cases we discussed allowing AI to make its own decisions, only to make decisions which support the perception and understanding of the human in the machine.
Yeah.
Guys, that seems like a good place. I'm conscious that seems like a good line to finish on. That's sort of putting the human back into this, and the conscious of time and people were starting to drift away. So I would start by saying thank you to you both. There was a lot. That was really appreciated. So thank you to you. If we could, I'm not sure. I think we've disabled the waving hands bit, but yep, on behalf of everybody in the call, thank you. For anybody on the call that wants to listen back to that or thinks that other people in their team would benefit from hearing the presentation, please visit our YouTube channel. Please subscribe to our LinkedIn channel to hear about details of the next calls. The next one is on the 20th of May, and that will be from Fidectus. And the very last thing I'd say is that in this webinar series, we're trying to present a whole lot of different perspectives. I think when Tilo started out, it was pretty clear that this is moving fast, and there is nobody that has the whole answer. So if you or if somebody you know or an organisation you think they would be good people to get up to run a webinar, and the more controversial their point of view, the better. That makes great viewing. So please get in touch with Anchor or myself or one of the team here at NG Traders Europe. So I will close off there. As I say, this is available for watching later on. And Hugh, Tilo, thank you so much for today. It was really appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.
Well,